Good morning, children. Before we tell the Bible story today, I have another book I'd like to read to you. This is my favorite children's book. It's called A Fish Out of Water by Helen Palmer, and it's illustrated by P.D. Eastman. Are you ready? This little fish, I said to Mr. Carp. I want him. I like him. And he likes me. I will call him Otto. Very well, said Mr. Carp, and I will tell you how to feed him. Then Mr. Carp told me, when you feed a fish, never feed him a lot. Just so much and no more, never more than a spot. Never more than a spot, or something may happen. You never know what. Then I took Otto home. I gave him some food. I did not give him much, just one little spot. But this did not make Otto happy. He wanted more food. He had to have more food. Poor Otto, he just had to have more food. I know what Mr. Carp told me. Never feed him a lot, never more than a spot, or something may happen, you never know what. But I gave Otto all the food in the box. Then something did happen. Little Otto began to grow. I saw him grow. I saw him grow and grow. And soon he was too big for his fish bowl. There was just one thing I could do. I put Otto into the flower bowl. There, Otto, I said, that will hold you. But no, the flower bowl did not hold him. Otto went right on growing. This was not funny. It was not funny at all. His tail was growing right up out of the top. I grabbed the flower bowl and I ran with it. Otto, I said, I know just where to put you. Then you'll be all right. I put him in a big pot. But Otto was not all right. I saw him grow some more. Very soon he was too big for the pot. I put him in pot after pot. He was growing so fast. Poor Otto, my poor little fish. Oh, why did I feed him so much? Otto, I said, stop growing, please. But Otto could not stop growing. Soon, he was growing all the time. Very soon, I ran out of pots. Otto had to have water, and there was just one thing I could do. I did it. I grabbed him. I grabbed him by the tail. I ran with him up to the tub. The tub is big. It can hold a lot of water. At last. There, Otto, I said. This tub holds my father. This tub holds my mother. So it can hold you. But the tub did not hold him at all. He went right on growing. Oh, Otto, I said, what can I do now? Oh, look, he flooded the whole bathroom. Then crash, the door went down. Crash, Otto went down. And I went down too. Oh, what a ride. Down went the water into the cellar, and down went Otto too. I had to do something fast. I grabbed the phone. I called the policeman. Help, help, I said. I fed my fish too much. Mr. Carp told me not to, but I did. What? Said the policeman. Mr. Carp told you not to, but you did? Oh, too bad. I'll come at once. The policeman came. My fish went that way, I said. He's down in the cellar. The policeman ran down with me. What a fish, he said. He's much too big to keep in a cellar. We'll have to get him out. We had to work and work to get Otto out. Poor Otto. Oh, why did I feed him too much? Mr. Carp told me something would happen, and it did. It did. Now, we had to get Otto out of the cellar. But now Otto had no water at all. A fish has to have water, I said to the policeman. We must get him to water. Get help. Call for help on the radio. The policeman called on the radio. He called for the fireman. Help, help, he said. A boy fed a fish too much. A boy fed a fish too much? Will come at once. Oh, look. The firemen came. They all helped get Otto up. But where can we take him? Uptown? Downtown? To the pool, yelled the fireman. To the pool, I yelled, and please hurry. And they did hurry. The fire truck with Otto came right up to the pool. The fireman yelled, Everyone get out of the pool! This fish is going in! And down into the pool went Otto. Into the pool with a big, big splash. Now I was happy. Now at last my Otto had water. Lots of water. This big pool is just the thing. This big pool would hold him. But Otto went right on growing. And no one wanted Otto in the pool. Look at all these people yelling. They did not like Otto at all. You take that fish out of here, they yelled. There was just one thing to do, and I did it. I ran to the phone. I called Mr. Carp. Please, please help me, I said. I fed Otto too much. Oh dear, said Mr. Carp. So you fed him too much? I knew you would. I always say don't. But you boys always do. Yes, I'll come. So, Mr. Carp came. He had a black box in his hand, and he had lots of other things, too. What are you going to do, Mr. Carp? I asked him. But Mr. Carp said nothing. He just went right up to the pool. Then he took the black box with him, and all the other things, too. Splash! Mr. Carp jumped into the water. Splash! Now Otto went down, too. All I could see was his tail. I could not see Mr. Carp at all. What was going on down there? What were they doing down there in the water? Now I could see nothing. Not Otto, not Mr. Carp, nothing at all. Would I ever see my Otto again? Would I ever see Mr. Carp again? Mr. Carp! Mr. Carp! I yelled. What are you doing down there? Are you all right? Then up jumped Mr. Carp. In his hand was a little fish bowl, and in the bowl was my Otto. Mr. Carp had made him little again. Don't ask me how I did it, he said, but here is your fish. And please, from now on, said Mr. Carp, please don't feed him too much, just so much, and no more. And now that's what I always do. Now I feed Otto just so much and no more. Never more than a spot, or something may happen, and now I know what. And now it's time for the Bible story. The story today is God's children make a choice. Remember last time we talked about Adam and Eve, God creating the whole world and how he made a beautiful garden for them. Well, today they're in the garden. Life in God's beautiful garden was off to a great start. Adam and Eve made themselves right at home. They made hiking trails, they splashed in the clear streams, and they raced across the green fields. Adam and Eve spent their days watching the animals romping and roaming around their new playground. And they spent cool evenings counting the stars. And at night, God came and walked and talked with them. And at bedtime, they drifted into dreams as larks sang them to sleep. Life was good in God's perfect world. The food in the garden was plentiful. After all the hiking and swimming and climbing, Adam and Eve were hungry. And God showed them the delicious buffet waiting for them. Crisp, sweet carrots, mouth-watering mangoes, crunchy nuts, and plump berries. But when Adam reached for the fruit in the center of the garden, God spoke up. Anything but that one, Adam. That tree is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and it's not for you to eat from. So Adam and Eve obeyed for a while. Isn't it a beautiful place? One day, a sneaky snake enticed Eve to try the forbidden fruit. Try this one. It's the best in the garden. One little bite won't hurt. So Eve plucked a piece of fruit, took a bite, and she gave some to Adam. When God found Adam and Eve hiding in the bushes, he knew they had disobeyed. I will always love you, God said, but since you disobeyed me, you cannot live in this beautiful garden anymore. Adam and Eve were sorry. They could no longer be with God in his beautiful garden, and they left with heavy hearts. But they were thankful that the most important thing of all was that God, their Father, still loved them. You know what God's message in this story is? God's message is when we disobeyed God, we were separated from him. God didn't walk with them in the garden anymore. But you know what? That sin separated them, but God still loved them. And that's our lesson too. We don't always obey God, but God always will love us. We're separated now, but we won't be separated forever. I promise one day, God says, we will be close again. Now you know the other story I told you about a fish out of water and Mr. Carp? You know what Mr. Carp said? He said, I knew this would happen. I always tell you boys, don't feed them more than the spot, but you always do. And you know what? Mr. Carp had a solution, didn't he? He had that little black box and he jumped right into the water with them. Well, you know what? God has a solution too. And all the rest of the Bible is telling us, leading up to that place where God brings the solution in, just like Mr. Carp brought the little black box. Now, it's important to obey God. It was disobeying God that got them into the trouble in the very beginning. And it got all of us in trouble because everyone since Adam and Eve disobeys God. But God has a solution. Aren't you glad God has a solution? Now, I have a little project for you. This is what my husband made me for breakfast. Don't those look good? They're banana oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. They look really good, and you know what? They taste good too. And I'm going to tell you how to make them. First of all, you need a bowl and a fork. And then you need 2 bananas. You take the 2 bananas and you peel them and you stick them in the bowl and you crush them all up. And then you take 1.5 cups of oatmeal, just plain oatmeal, and you add them to the bananas and you stir them all up. And then, to make them like Dave did for me, you put chocolate chips in them. Yeah, chocolate chips. And that makes them good. But you know, it doesn't make them real pretty. I have something here that's really pretty. Look at these beautiful little stones. There's blue ones and red ones. They're just so pretty and they shine in the sun. What if I added those instead of chocolate chips? They would be so much prettier. But would they taste good? Can you imagine what would happen if you chomped down on a stone? You might break your tooth. So it's always best to follow the directions. And then once it's all stirred up, you take it in your hand and mush it together and put it on the baking sheet. And then you put them in the oven. You know what? I don't know how to bake them after that. Let me think. What temperature do you think we should put the oven at?
350.
Let me think. 350. Let's put it at 350. And how long do you think we should bake it so they turn out like this?
50.
Let's put it in for 15 minutes. And then they come out like this. Oh, and you know what? They were really yummy. I had these and a glass of milk for breakfast. Oh, yum. They were so good. You know what I would like you to do? I would like you to make banana, oatmeal, and chocolate chip cookies. And I would like you to send me a picture of what they turned out like or a picture of you baking them. And remember, follow the recipe. Don't put rocks in it. Put chocolate chips. They will taste so much better and you won't break your teeth. So I would love to see a picture of you following the recipe. And we follow the recipe just like we follow God's recipe. God gave us his word and he told us all of these wonderful things how to live. And when we follow his recipe and do what he says, things turn out great. Thank you for watching today. I can't wait to see your pictures of you making cookies.